How's everybody doing today? Welcome aboard the Soul Train for the next 2 hours. I'm going to be your host. My name is Matt, the Grass Factor Martin. And I thought today, while we're at it, why not? Let's just go ahead and jump right in and do us a whole little episode on glyphosate. Again. You know, really, what do you do? When the hate is upon you and it's all coming in funky, and of course what everybody has to say about this, I was like, man, it's just this is just it's too perfect. Let's just jump into it. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in. We're gonna have a fun little show. Got beard hair stuck in my teeth. And I don't know. That was weird. I don't know how that happened. Whoa, we got phantom noises going in the studio here. That's my wife running around in the background there. Caught her. What's up from Dyersburg? How are you, good sir? It's cool and sunny. A little bit cooler than normal right here in Canucks, Vegas. This beard hair in my tooth is gonna bother me. Dwayne made it through Hurricane Sally. That's good to hear. 14.7 inches of rain. My goodness. I can't even fathom what that would be like to get it in such a short period of time. I'm glad you're safe, sir. I am glad you are safe. We got Noah checking things out. Oh, we got the little one too coming to check things out. All right. Still getting a couple things mess around with over here on my end. Let's do a little cache refresh. See if we can get this to update. There we go, there we go, there we go. Everything's looking good on my end. So I figured this would be a good time to go ahead and have a conversation about glyphosate, because I've been sent so many of these articles, right? So glyphosate is going to wipe out the monarch butterflies, of course, and we've got glyphosate in our food, and we've got glyphosate now in our chicken manure. And I feel like the whole reason why it's necessary to talk about things like this, let me turn that down so I can hear myself think, why it's necessary to talk about these things is, you know, we do a Google search and we'll take a look. Glyphosate poultry manure is what I'm going to type into the Google search bar. And, you know, here's the first one. This is a report by the U.S. RTK, the United States Right to Know, pursuing truth and transparency for public health. You would think a group like this would be legitimately interested in public health. And so this is the article here. Science has brought more bad news to light regarding the widely used herbicide glyphosate, better known as Roundup, in a new research paper published this month. Researchers from the University of Turku in Finland revealed in a paper published in the Journal of Science of the Total Environment that manure from poultry used as fertilizer can decrease crop yields when the manure contains residues from glyphosate-based herbicides such as Roundup. Fertilizers are meant to increase crop production, so the evidence that glyphosate residues can have the opposite effect is significant. Poultry litter, as the manure is called, is often used as a fertilizer, including in organic agriculture, because it is considered rich in essential nutrients. Use of the poultry litter as fertilizer has been growing both in farming and in horticultural and home gardens. While use is growing, the possible risk associated with the accumulation of agrochemicals in poultry manure is still largely ignored. Organic farmers have been growing increasingly worried about traces of glyphosate manure fertilizer that is allowed in organic production, but many in the industry are reluctant to publicize the issue. Farmers spray glyphosate directly on a number of crops grown around the world, including soybean, corn, cotton, canola, and other crops genetically engineered to withstand glyphosate treatments. They are also often sprayed directly on such crops such as wheat and oats, which are not genetically engineered, shortly before harvest to dry the crop out. Given the amount of glyphosate-based herbicides used to treat crops that are used in animal feed, as well as the amount of manure used as fertilizer, we should definitely be aware that this kind of a risk exists. No one seems very eager to talk about it. And then they go into the debate about how in 2015, the World Health Organization's internal, the IARC, which, by the way, the WHO and the IARC is all trash, okay? And if you want to fight about it, that's fine. We can fight about it. And if you say, oh, well, what, get a real scientist involved, then I'm sure there will be plenty of real scientists that are more than willing to get involved, because we see lots of papers and statements from universities coming out talking about IARC. And if you haven't found it, it's because you haven't looked for it. And if you do look for it, you will find it. And there's no secret hidden agenda here. It's just one is going to generate a headline, right? The food you eat will kill you. That is one hell of a headline versus the study that studied the food that you eat may potentially kill you turned out to be not so correct. Is nowhere near as catchy as your food is going to kill you, or your food is killing your family, or what you feed yourself is ultimately going to make you all die a terrible death. One of those will get people excited and start to feel feelings. The other one will not, right? So we'll take a page directly from this and just go ahead, put it out there. The WHO and the IARC, specifically the IARC, and the research that they did on glyphosate was just totally trash. Totally trash. David, that's exactly what I wanted to see right there. I came scrambling to get in the door to read that comment right there. Glyphosate made me blind. Glyphosate made me ugly. Glyphosate gave me a bad back. Glyphosate made me nearsighted. Glyphosate made me short and fat. Glyphosate made my car break down. There we go. And let's see here. Where am I? Oh, yes. So they talk about that. And of course, tens of thousands of people in the United States suffering from non-Hodgkin's lymphoma have sued Monsanto. And in 3 trials held to date, juries have found that the company's glyphosate herbicides were to blame for causing the cancers. Now, what those trials actually came to uncover was that scientifically, they may not have actually caused the cancer, but because it scared everybody, it just felt pretty good to go ahead and give them the money anyway for the situation they were in, right? And so in this particular instance here, we hear, glyphosate and chicken poop used as fertilizers hurting food production, researchers say. And so I decided to go ahead and look up this study, because apparently this study is going to be wow, right? This is going to be wow, really some groundbreaking, definitely unforeseen research that is going to revolutionize how we feel about organic crop production to date. This is going to turn organic crop production upside down. This report will. It's going to freak everybody out. Or are we going to listen to it and we're going to be like, what? How is this even considered real news? because it's not. It's fake news. And we'll start discussing it when we come back from break. Playing the best music.
Hands down and dirty. Turfs Up Radio.
Turfs Up Radio.
Turfs Up Radio.
Turfs Up Radio. Turfs Up Radio. Turfs Up.
Turfs Up Radio. Your industry, your station.
Hey, Green Industry Pros, are you new to Turfs Up Radio and want to learn more? Then plug in your earphones and keep listening, because Turfs Up Radio invites you to listen while you work. Our 24/7 live radio platform keeps you up to date, bringing you new tips and interviews from pros like you who want to elevate and educate the green industry. Can't make it to industry shows or events? Don't worry. Turfs Up Radio will be there bringing you live coverage, getting you in on the action. So keep listening to Turfs Up Radio. Your industry, your station.
Hey everybody, it's Brooke Ford, host of The Green Veteran here on Turfs Up Radio. Be sure to check me out every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern. You're going to hear some great one-on-one interviews with green industry professionals. We're going to talk about best business practices, highlight innovative products, and also provide some insight into some new emerging technologies in the field. That's The Green Veteran, airing each Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern. And remember, Turfs Up Radio, your industry, your station.
Hey, Green Industry Pros, Turfs Up Radio is celebrating what a great first year we had and wants to give you $100 just for being involved. That's right. All you have to do is visit turfsupradio.com/shout out for 100 and follow a few easy steps. When you hear your name live on the radio, we're going to send you a crisp $100 bill. So be sure to visit turfsupradio.com/shout out for 100 to claim your cash. And remember, Turfs Up Radio, your industry, your station.
Welcome back here. We are really pushing the envelope on Turfs Up Radio today. Speaking of, when I start talking about these things, I kind of feel like they're conspiratory in nature. But you know, really at some point you've got to stop banging your head against the wall when you come across these things, and for goodness sake, why doesn't anybody dig into it except for just the surface? We live in a what is it? Somebody said we live in a headline society, meaning it's all about the effectiveness of the headline to draw in the viewer or listener or reader or whatever the case may be. And even then, when you get past the headline, you'll read the summary of the first paragraph and pretty much call it good. And so as we read the summary, the abstract here, glyphosate-based herbicides are the most frequently used herbicides globally. They were launched as a safe solution for weed control, but recently an increasing number of studies have shown the existence of glyphosate-based herbicide residues and highlighted the associated risks they pose throughout the ecosystems. Conventional agricultural practices often include the use of glyphosate-based herbicides, and the use of glyphosate-resistant genetically modified crops is largely based on the application of glyphosate, which increases the likelihood of its residues ended up in animal feed. And just as kind of a quick note here, animals also do not have the same pathways, mammalian or avian, that plants do, where glyphosate affects them. So we'll just go ahead and get that out of there. And if you don't have the same pathway, it's not going to affect you like it does a plant, okay? It just is passed through you as inert material. We studied the potential effects and unintentional glyphosate contamination on an agronomically important forage grass meadow, which is a fescue, Festica pratensis, and a horticulturally important strawberry. Using glyphosate residues containing poultry manure as a plant fertilizer and in a common garden experiment. Glyphosate and the manure decrease plant growth in both species and vegetative reproduction in the fescue. Furthermore, our results indicate that glyphosate residues and organic fertilizers may have indirect effects on sexual reproduction of fescue and herbivory effects in the strawberry because they positively correlate with plant size. Our results highlight that glyphosate can be unintentionally spread via organic fertilizer, counteracting its ability to promote plant growth. Okay, so we hear that and we're like, oh boy, here we go. Here we go. It is on. We are screwed. This is it. This is it. It's the end for glyphosate. Ban it. Cancel it. Cancel it. Somebody go get a stamp right now. Cancel stamp and just smash it. Put it right through your monitor or wherever it is you're reading or listening to this. What you need, if you're wearing headphones right now, take your headphones off and smash it with a glyphosate canceled stamp. We did it. We got it off the market. But then we start reading a little bit more. And I like this part of it. The study set up oftentimes, yes, nitrogen will help glyphosate to work better, by the way, whoever asked that. Vapors are a scam. This is true too. Yes, they are. So here we go. Let's just go ahead and dive into this setup here. We conducted a field experiment at Ruissalo Botanical Garden in Finland using beddings collected from Japanese quails fed on glyphosate-based herbicide contaminated or glyphosate-based herbicide-free control food as fertilizers to study the effect of glyphosate-based herbicide residues on plant growth, reproduction, and herbivory. The beddings were collected from an aviary experiment where birds were fed with either a GBH contaminated feed or a control feed. Both had roughly the same, never mind, from the age of 10 days to 12 months. So we're talking these were 1 year birds. The GBH feed consisted of organic feed for laying chickens, combined with Roundup Flex equivalent to 160 milligrams of glyphosate per kilogram. So if you didn't catch that, I kind of flipped through it really fast there because it's easy to do that. What they fed these chickens with was a glyphosate-based herbicide feed consisted of organic feed for laying chickens combined with Roundup Flex. They literally treated the feed with glyphosate. Now, is that considered a glyphosate residue at that point? Or is that considered contamination or a spill? And it was metered in at close to the maximum amount of glyphosate intake. So this dose corresponds to a daily intake of 12 to 20 milligrams of glyphosate per kilogram. Just kidding, right? That would make sense. The maximum glyphosate for poultry is 33.4. Okay, yeah, that is 33.4, corresponding to maximum daily weight. According to the European Food Safety Authority, the maximum glyphosate intake for poultry is 33.4 milligrams per kilogram in feed dry matter, corresponding to a maximum daily intake of 2.28 milligrams per kilogram. And no adverse effects level is 100 milligrams per kilogram of body mass per day. So they kind of split the difference there in the absolute max intake versus the corresponding maximum daily intake per body mass. And just, we'll go 12 to 20 milligrams, but really our range is 2 to 33. Okay, so we hear this and we're like, okay, yeah, they're treating it directly. That's a little squirrely. It's just a little squirrely. Yeah, 100 milligrams per kilogram is a pretty significant amount of glyphosate, right? And that's, so anyway, they exposed these birds on a daily, they were fed glyphosate daily. And at 12 months of exposure, the average glyphosate concentration of the excrement was 199 milligrams per kilogram. This is hilarious. So, by feeding it at a high rate of glyphosate directly every day for a year, eventually, the excrement contained 199 milligrams per kilogram of glyphosate. That's how much exposure was given to these birds. That is not normal. That does not exist. I've seen lots. I work in poultry manure. I've seen lots of glyphosate, glyphosate levels in poultry manure. Never have I ever heard of 199 milligrams per kilogram. My goodness. The control group was fed the same organic feed with non-measurable glyphosate concentrations. The birds were reared in pairs, one male, one female. The beddings were changed bi-weekly, and the used beddings were collected regularly from 8 to 12 months of exposure for each treatment. For the present experiment, the beddings were pooled per treatment and stored in closed containers in a dry, dark storage room at 6 degrees Celsius. What? Listen. You can take chicken manure, put it in open air, you put it in a closed barn, whatever the case may be. Under no circumstance can you keep the temperature inside that building at 6 degrees Celsius unless you live in somewhere where that is like your high, that would be the absolute maximum temperature you reach, because this material is instantaneously composting as soon as it is exposed to the environment. Ambient air, immediately composting. Immediately. You can do whatever you want to it. It's impossible to stop it from taking place. So they refrigerated this to keep it from composting and breaking it down due to time and exposure. Listen. This is crazy. This is crazy. The beddings were spread on an experimental field on August 31st and May 17th of 2018 and 2019. Altogether, 251 corresponding 3.8 kilogram beddings were spread on each 1 square meter plot on a field basis. This amount extrapolates to 38,000 kilograms per hectare. Listen, I know that is the metric system, and here in America, we don't know the metric system real well. So let me put that to you. Let me put this to you in a way you will understand. 38,000 kilograms per hectare is 34,000 pounds per acre. 34,000 pounds divided by 43.5, that is 781 pounds per 1,000 square feet. Good Lord Almighty. If I applied 781 pounds of glyphosate, of chicken manure, across 1,000 square feet, I would expect it to burn up from the NPK ratio. Raw chicken litter like this is coming out hot, like a 323. So if we're applying that per 1,000 square feet, we're applying 23 pounds of actual nitrogen per 1,000 square feet. This is trash any which way you spin it. Even if you took it in half, because the next thing they state right here, while the application rate may be high, it should be noted that approximately less than half of the weight was bird excreta and the rest was wood shavings. Another reason to show that this thing was kept from composting, that took a pretty significant effort to keep that from composting. And then, second of all, even if we took this in half, we're applying 11.7 pounds of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet. If I did that on turf grass right now, I've got a yard full of fescue right now. If I put 11 pounds of nitrogen down in a single application, it would all die. And what would I say about it? I'd be like, man, I tell you what killed it. I'll tell you what killed it. It was the damn glyphosate the chickens were eating. That's what killed it. I know exactly what it was. The chickens were eating glyphosate, and they came out here, and it has nothing to do with 11.7 pounds of nitrogen going down on 100%. I am thoroughly convinced, without a doubt, it was the glyphosate in their diet that caused the problem. I love Brandon's comment here. Come on. It's pretty common. Just put it in your chicken, common everyday run-of-the-mill chicken doo-doo fridge you have on the farm. Yeah, that's right. I keep it out back. That way, when I bring in 1,000 tons at a time, I can just put it in there. I put it in little Tupperware jars and store it in the fridge. And Ray's got a good point here, too. Chicken manure also has high sodium content. That's why the majority of time when people are using these, except for row crop will take it raw, broadcast it over the field while everything is so pre-plant and let it leach out because the sodium levels are high. Or you'll see other people come in, put it on compost pads, and leach out the sodium. I'm not making this up. I work in this side of the industry. For small farms, home gardens, and farms in organic systems, the rate here is likely to be practical. What? What? No, it is not practical. I don't care what you say, that is not practical. No matter how you want to spin this, one way or another, this is not practical. Now, even when I'm looking at this chart here, the statistical significance and the difference in the size of these plants is almost negligible. Wow. Yeah. So anyway, I need to go through this on offline. I didn't have a chance to go through all of it. But as far as the above ground biomass, it was slightly statistically significant higher in the plants that were treated with 11.7 pounds of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet for the birds that were being fed 20 to 20 milligrams per kilogram of body weight of glyphosate per day, to the point that in their urine and excrement, they were passing on 199 milligrams per kilogram of glyphosate. That's how much these animals were being fed. That's insanity. Not only that, they took it out and they refrigerated the material to keep it from composting. Not only that, they did nothing to leach the material. Not only that, they applied it at 34,000 pounds per acre. Is glyphosate a scam? Failed that one. All right, real quick, I gotta take a break. Ooh, came in a little hot. I gotta take a break. When we come back, we'll continue on. See what we unpack next. I don't know. You're listening to Turf's Up Radio, your industry, your station.
Hey everybody, this is Hecubus from the Nightcap. I'm just sitting here relaxing within the vault with my friends and a tasty, tasty pint. You should stop by and listen in sometime. I'm here every Monday through Friday, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern, live only on Turf's Up Radio. Your industry, your station.
Every Wednesday night.
Uh-oh, guess what day it is?
Hump Night with The Duck. 7 Pacific, 10 Eastern. Only on Turf's Up Radio.
Hump day?
We have to put up with this?
The Rock! The hot place!
You're not the top.
Did I say something wrong?
The Duck. On Turf's Up Radio. Turf's Up Radio. Your industry, your station.
Are you a military family with a spouse on deployment away from home? Did you know that nonprofit Project Evergreen has thousands of volunteers across the country ready to help military families with lawn, landscape, and snow removal services? We call it Green Care and Snow Care for troops. If you are a military family and would like to receive this free service, or if you'd like to volunteer to help, visit projectevergreen.org. Project Evergreen, creating a greener, healthier, cooler Earth, 1 yard at a time.
Hey, landscape pros, are you tired of digging through rocks and roots and breaking shovels in the process? Then it's time you checked out the Geo Ripper 616. It's a landscaper's dream with the Makita 6 Series 2-cycle engine producing over 4 horsepower of raw performance. The 616 digs deep in up to 16 inches of the toughest soils. Lighting, landscape, and irrigation contractors already love this improved lightweight trencher with its ability to get in and get out faster, easier, and with less ground disturbance. And you will too. This redesigned Geo Ripper 616 comes with 2 heavy-duty digging chains and a whole mess of helpful extras. To learn more about the Geo Ripper and how it can help you out in the field, visit georipper.com today.
All right. Little deviation from the glyphosate here. Somebody it talked about interseeding Bermuda grass with white clover as a cover crop and nitrogen fixer. Yeah, you can. So I'm looking at what you're saying here, Daniel. And what will happen is yes, the clover will fix atmospheric nitrogen stored in the root nodules, and then as you kill out that clover and transition back in. As it is microbially digested, it becomes organic matter when you kill it, and it will be consumed by the microbes and release that nitrogen from the plant. Kind of an interesting way to do it, but it's totally doable. Cover cropping in turf grass, uncovered right here at Turf's Up Radio. Actually, big shout out to Dane Fuller for that idea. All right, so I hope you pulled something away from that study right there, that is in no way, shape, form, or fashion even remotely a signifier as far as what's to come through people using poultry litter on their fields. No farmer I know has the budget to literally IV drip their chickens with glyphosate or make treatments to their food on a daily basis. Like none at all. Nobody's got that kind of budget. And then on the second piece of that, there's no farmer who has the budget to apply 34,000 pounds an acre. Most of the time, what I see in row crop, 2,000 pounds an acre, something like that. 34,000 pounds an acre is insane. That's crazy. This whole thing is crazy. So I said, well, what a perfect segue here. Well, what other scare tactic can we find? Now we're going to go back to our genetic literacy project, and these people are peak weirdos as well. Wait, I think this one is the good one. I don't know. We'll just read it and say. Roundup glyphosate weed killer wiping out monarch butterflies? Media and advocacy groups badly misreport the study. That's right. Genetic Literacy Project puts together some pretty good ones. In fact, they have a lot of university professors actually write for them. News reporting at its best should be nuanced. There are rarely black hats and white hats when it comes to understanding the issues of the day. Life is usually shades of gray, complex. When reporters address controversial topics, it's not enough just to get the various elements right. The headline and the editorial thrust should responsibly reflect the multidimensionality of a topic. Otherwise, the story can muddy the understanding of a complex issue and ultimately undermine both science and the public's trust in journalists. Such is the case for a recent article on the study of monarch butterfly population declines written by Cornell University's Alliance for Science, a solid, reputable source of unbiased scientific information. Why are monarchs in decline? It's a hotly debated issue with many studies from competing conclusions. Anti-biotechnology activist groups have singled out the herbicide glyphosate as a major driver of the decline. So the issue is embedded in a wilder, inflamed debate over the controversial weed killer, which makes it all more important that any new science on this issue should be contextualized and reported with nuance. The GLP has addressed this controversy extensively, including providing a dispassionate, science-based analysis in our GMO frequently asked questions. We talked to and sourced a range of scientists on all sides of the issues, and here are the two competing quotes. The first from a distinguished independent scientist discussing whether the evidence in the proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. The second from an activist scientist affiliated with an organization known for its endorsement of homeopathy, Chinese medicine, and other pseudoscience, addressing the controversy in a propaganda piece. This is from a legitimate scientist. Dr. Boyle and Dr. Dalglish and Dr. Pusey. Herbicide-resistant crops are clearly not the only culprit and likely not even the primary culprit. Not only did monarch milkweed declines begin decades before genetically modified crops were introduced, but other variables, particularly a decline in the number of farms, predict common milkweed trends more strongly. Now, this is the headline from the not-so-scientist, Dr. Eva Siranasinghe. Monarch butterfly numbers are dwindling, no less than an end to the mass spraying of glyphosate on milkweed, predicated by Roundup-ready genetically modified corn and soil will do. One of those things said, glyphosate, without a doubt, is the cause. The other one said, it could be more of just a potential correlation because we noticed it prior to the explosive use of glyphosate, primarily with the decrease in number of farms, did we begin to draw correlations in milkweed populations declining. There is intense scrutiny over the role that GMO crops and by extension herbicides glyphosate and dicamba, often paired with them, play in the health of the monarch butterfly. Butterfly population declines are often blamed by activists and some scientists on farmers using herbicides to destroy milkweed, a poisonous weed that severely damages crops but is a critical food source for butterfly caterpillars growing near their GMO crops. The issue is complex, with researchers differing on the causes of the decline. Recent research out of Cornell University suggests herbicides have played an insignificant role in the prior decline. The insect is facing problems that appear to be more complex than a single culprit. Research suggests the Monarch faces numerous threats, most of them unrelated to the use of the herbicide, including climate issues and degradation of their overwintering habitat in Mexico. A review of 116 years of data published in 2019 in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences concluded that agricultural practices, including the use of herbicides, are responsible for less than 20% of the Monarch decline. That's the science consensus, which makes it all the more baffling and disappointing when the Cornell Alliance for Science recently posted an article on its well-regulated site with an exaggerated and inflammatory headline and an editorial thrust. Herbicide blamed for monarch butterfly population decline. The article's author, Denmark-based journalist, back to right there near Finland, Justin Kremer opens the article already ideologically tainted by its headline with an exaggerated sentence that contradicts the central conclusion of the study it is reporting. A new study suggests that extensive agricultural use of glyphosate herbicide is to blame for decades of decline in North America's monarch butterfly population. But he subsequently writes the study results bolster the milkweed limitation hypothesis. This theory points to the widespread use of glyphosate as the main cause of the population decline. Here's the problem. These headlines and these statements contradict the actual study. As even Kremer himself acknowledges in an otherwise well-reported piece, milkweed is used exclusively by monarchs for egg laying on their multi-generational migration from Mexico to Canada and back. As Kremer later points out, the actual study, published in Frontiers in Ecology and Evolution and headed by University of Kansas Emeritus Professor and monarch expert Orly Taylor, is not focused on the glyphosate issue in the main. Its intent, the authors clearly state, is to analyze a popular hypothesis that the severe, more than 90% monarch population decline over the past few decades is due to losses during the butterfly's southern migration. The study supports an alternative hypothesis that milkweed supply declines are driving force among many other issues for the decline of these beautiful creatures. And what's behind the milkweed decline? It's not glyphosate directly, as the headline asserts. Rather, it's land use changes fueled by politics. Bomb, bomb, bomb! So here we go. At any and every opportunity, and listen, this is where I get real fired up about this. We are moments away, at any time, moments away of having the scrutiny of the world knocking at our door. I think everybody that's out here spraying a yard today knows exactly what I'm talking about when I say it's beginning to happen more and more. You just see it taking place. More and more and more. And boy, oh boy, let me take a break and we'll get right back into this.
Hey, landscape pros, are you tired of digging through rocks and roots and breaking shovels in the process? Then it's time you checked out the Geo Ripper 616. It's a landscaper's dream with the Makita 6 Series 2-cycle engine producing over 4 horsepower of raw performance. The 616 digs deep in up to 16 inches of the toughest soils. Lighting, landscape, and irrigation contractors already love this improved lightweight trencher with its ability to get in and get out faster, easier, and with less ground disturbance. And you will too. to. This redesigned GeoRipper 616 comes with 2 heavy-duty digging chains and a whole mess of helpful extras. To learn more about the GeoRipper and how it can help you out in the field, visit georipper.com today.
Hey Green Industry Pros, Turfs Up Radio is celebrating what a great first year we had and wants to give you $100 just for being involved. That's right, all you have to do is visit turfsupradio.com/shout out for 100 and follow a few easy steps. When you hear your name live on the radio, we're going to send you a crisp $100 bill. So be sure to visit turfsupradio.com/shout out for 100 to claim your cash. And remember, Turfs Up Radio, your industry, your station.
Hey everybody, it's Brooke Ford, host of the Green Veteran here on Turfs Up Radio. Be sure to check me out every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern. You're going to hear some great one-on-one interviews with green industry professionals. We're going to talk about best business practices, highlight innovative products, and also provide some insight into some new emerging technologies in the field. That's the Green Veteran, airing each Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern. And remember, Turfs Up Radio, your industry, your station.
So, and this is wherein lies the problem. Okay, these news articles start coming out, and it starts, and then we hear about poor Rodney with his non-Hodgkin's lymphoma and his glyphosate-based case, and it's kind of, in a way, the epitome of cancel culture. It's like, regardless of what the science says, we need to panic react. We just need to panic react. And so what we start seeing happen are distributors start pulling glyphosate from their lineup. Or even for homeowners, you see glyphosate coming off the shelves in protests in regard of pulling glyphosate off the shelves. And they're chanting, "Keep your glyphosate out of my stores and out of my cereal. Keep it out of my stores and out of my breakfast. Keep it out of my stores and out of my butterflies." Then the problem there then starts to become where insurance companies are like, "Nope, you keep glyphosate out of your stores and out of your trucks. Keep glyphosate out of your stores, out of your trucks, or out of your house. And if you have it in it and you do get in trouble, guess what? We will not be there to protect you. We don't care what the science says. The media, the pushback from the local community tells me this is too much heat for me to be taking on. Cancel it. Be done with it. Get rid of it." That is what ends up happening. And then what do? Do you throw your hands up? You call it good? Do you walk away like, "Oh, well, I shouldn't have been doing that"? How do you handle it? How do you interpret this data, this new sets of obstacles? Because here's what's going to happen. And this is what I was alluding to before I went to break. As more and more of these instances start to happen, it's going to start coming back on the lawn care applicator, because we are the easiest to gain accessibility to. We are out there, we are open, we're promoting our businesses, we're in the field, we're in neighborhoods, we're knocking on doors, we're spraying lawns. And whether they know what we're doing or not, we may be out there spraying who knows what. We may be spraying compost tea. But what they see is us making a liquid application. And so then the idea becomes, well, they're clearly spraying glyphosate. And you'll get the crazy lady from up the road who was divorced 43 years ago and drinks margaritas for breakfast. I'm not hating on margaritas for breakfast. Trust me, that I'm into it. I don't have time to do it anymore like I used to, but I'm into it. But poor Mrs. Jones, who hadn't seen the light of day, gets up, cracks open her next bottle of Blue Top, eats her a couple Advil, sees you outside, and then catches in one ear that glyphosate is causing cancer in people. She sees you, she comes out, and she is seething, screaming, sweating. Get out of my neighborhood! My husband died 41 years ago from all you people using glyphosate. You're killing everybody. We've had 33 people in this neighborhood die in the last 41 years, and it's your fault. Can I speak to your manager? I'm calling the Department of Agriculture. I'm calling the Department of Defense. I'm calling the EPA, CIA, FBI. You're going down. If it is the last thing I accomplish before I finish this frickin' margarita, you're going down. So as that begins to come and fall on us, the lawn applicator, this is why we have to be prepared. When we see a headline like this, we have to take it into consideration and do our due diligence. Study this. Understand the pitfalls, the successes. Understand, because what if it was bad news that came out that without a doubt, 100%, when they give even just microscopic doses of glyphosate to these butterflies, they instantaneously kill over and die. That is bad data that we have to be prepared for. And then that comes out, then we can make a statement, hey, you know what? We're a glyphosate-free company. We've done the research, we've made a calculated decision, and we made the determination that we are not going to use glyphosate anymore. Or we do the research and we look into this and we see that really the big issue stems from milkweed. And it has something to do when they migrate further south. Andrew Niss, wheat scientist at the University of Wyoming, tweeted shortly after the Alliance for Science article ran. This is the one that was ideologically intense, or what is the word I'm looking for? Influenced. Wheat scientist at University of Wyoming, Dr. Niss, said, echoing Taylor, he observed that this was an issue of milkweed habitat losses because of land use, not herbicides. This is a land use issue, not an herbicide issue. Glyphosate is better than most herbicides. It was compared to when people actually evaluated milkweed control. But we have a lot more herbicides now. We could ban glyphosate tomorrow, and I would wager that there would be almost no milkweed in the fields. Yes, this is exactly right, because we look at the explosive use of sulfonylureas and the explosive ability for sulfonylureas to take care of things like milkweed. I love this statistic here. Aaron Berger said, there is a chance a man will get non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. That chance is 1 in 41. Is it because of glyphosate in the environment, though? Is that what's going on? Is that why we're doing this? No. It's whatever's going on environmentally, our exposure, or just the way we're evolving as humans. I don't know. But the data here does not point to glyphosate as being the culprit. And if it did, I wish it did, because it would make things so much easier to understand. The problem is that this is a complex, multifaceted issue. And trying to dumb it down into a black or white scenario, it's just not that frickin' simple. It is not that freaking simple. So here we go. For anybody that remembers the whole idea, remember those headlines? Weed killer ingredient found in Cheerios, Quaker Oats, and other breakfast cereals. Ran in Newsweek. Then followed up after that, the New York Daily News had a headline that said glyphosate. It's not just for breakfast anymore. It's now in our beers and wines. Get ready. So I'll read this here. Don't be surprised if you see more obvious headlines about glyphosate turning up in more foods. It's the world's most widely used weed killer, the most widely used pesticide of any kind, in fact, and it's been around for over 4 decades. So it's bound to appear in trace amounts in virtually any grain product. It's even been found in organic foods, either because of contamination from spray fields or because organic farmers are secretly using it. It's so widely used because it works so well, so cost effectively without it that a bowl of Cheerios you ate this morning or the bud you'll drink tonight might be prohibitively expensive. But does that mean you're being poisoned? Fear not. First, at the risk of stating the obvious, unless you're a pod person from Invasion of the Body Snatchers, you're probably not a weed. In fact, toxicity is often quite specific to certain species. For example, saccharin was once given a warning label because it was considered a rodent carcinogen and therefore possibly a human one. The FDA dropped the label requirement when researchers discovered it wasn't even a rodent carcinogen. Generally, but only harmful to certain rodents. Rizzo the rat better avoided, but Mickey Mouse could harmlessly gorge himself on artificially sweetened cheese. Second, even regarding we homo sapiens, as century-old expression goes, the dose makes the poison, with an extremely sensitive test, your drinking water will probably be found to contain trace elements of cyanide and arsenic because they're ubiquitous. But don't spit out your Perrier. Those tiny amounts are easily contained in your body, contained by your body's natural defenses, like shooting bullets at Godzilla. The glyphosate fearmongers don't claim the chemical is a direct poison. Rather, it causes cancer. But as it happens, this chemical has been studied and studied and studied. And these are what the major health and environmental agencies say. The EPA, in a late 2017 draft report, concluded glyphosate is not likely to be carcinogenic to humans, and when used according to the pesticide label, and that its scientific findings are consistent with the conclusion of science reviews by a number of other countries, as well as the 2017 National Institute of Health Agricultural Health Survey. The European Food Safety Authority found it unlikely that glyphosate posed a carcinogenic hazard to humans. It was only the IARC that classified glyphosate as probably carcinogenic to humans. It added, though, evidence was limited. But the IARC tends to be overly cautious. In fact, a later World Health Organization reported a later World Health Organization report rejected the IARC's conclusion. In May 2016, a joint study from that organization, the UN Food and Agriculture Organization, concluded that glyphosate exposure through diet was unlikely to pose a cancer risk. Regarding brewskis specifically, the German Federal Institute for Risk Assessment has stated that the glyphosate residues in beers are essentially a given, but in order to absorb a harmful quantity in glyphosate, an adult would have to drink about 1,000 liters of beer a day, or 264 gallons. I think as the only person now I know that would be interested in drinking 264 gallons of beer right now would be Kanye, as he continues to use the bathroom on his music awards. He said he didn't want to stop. So, I hope as we read through these things, you at home, you out in the field, you in the truck riding around, you take into consideration the real issue here. The real issue here is how hard can we try to scare you into believing whatever it is we're trying to tell you? because the effort is placed purely on intent to cause you emotional harm. I just recently did an experiment with that, and boy, did it work. I got to take a break. We got more after. You're listening to Turfs Up Radio, your industry, your station.
Green Industry Pros, are you new to Turfs Up Radio and want to learn more? Then plug in your earphones and keep listening, because Turfs Up Radio invites you to listen while you work. Our 24/7 live radio platform keeps you up to date, bringing you new tips and interviews from pros like you who want to elevate and educate the green industry. Can't make it to industry shows or events? Don't worry. Turfs Up Radio will be there bringing you live coverage, getting you in on the action. So keep listening to Turfs Up Radio, your industry, your station.
Playing the best music.
Hands down and dirty. Turfs Up Radio.
Turfs Up Radio.
Turfs Up Radio. Turfs Up Radio. Turfs Up Radio. Turfs Up.
Turfs Up Radio. Your industry, your station.
Hey, Turfs Up Radio fans, do you know what time it is? That's right, it's time for Turfs Up Radio. Now you can catch us streaming live 24/7 with pro talk, pro tips, and pro interviews. Simply visit turfsupradio.com.
Hey everybody, it's Brooke Ford, host of The Green Veteran here on Turfs Up Radio. Be sure to check me out every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern. You're going to hear some great one-on-one interviews with green industry professionals. We're going to talk about best business practices, highlight innovative products, and also provide some insight into some new emerging technologies in the field. That's The Green Veteran, airing each Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern. And remember, Turfs Up Radio, your industry, your station.
All right. We're back. So I hope everybody, when you hear this, so you feel a little bit more prepared. And when you see these things, on social media, and I'm definitely not recommending you engage. That's not always the best policy. Now, I've said it before, and I'll kind of repeat that when you find yourself in these types of situations, remember to, number one, most importantly, be respectful. Please be respectful. Trust me, I promise you, I'm the kind of person that when somebody comes out and they start barking at me this way, the first thing I want to say is, you are so stupid. But keep that self-contained. Lock it away. Put it in that cage. Put your padlock on it. Make sure it's a good padlock. And just be respectful. And you can say things. This is great right here. You can learn things like this. The EPA concluded glyphosate is not likely to be carcinogenic to humans when used according to the pesticide label. And these scientific findings are consistent with the conclusions of science reviews by a number of other countries as well. The European Food Safety Union also concluded it is unlikely that glyphosate posed a carcinogenic hazard to humans. And in fact, the World Health Organization, whose own International Agency for Research on Cancer, concluded that glyphosate was probably carcinogenic to humans, later rejected the conclusion. It's simple things like that that you can say, and that is why, as a company, we have made the determination that we will continue to use glyphosate according to its labels, because there has never been a provable standpoint of evidence that points otherwise. And in the event it ever does surface, it is something we will give large credence to, place effort in to study and understand and reevaluate whether as a company we should continue to use this product. Remember, glyphosate has been used extensively for 40 years. It is the most researched pesticide on the planet. As we look at death rates, the primary leading driver of death rates is also the increase in total population, if you want to talk about correlation. Aldo had a good point here. Did the public decide to forget about tobacco and make glyphosate public enemy number one? Well, as it became widely accepted and understood that tobacco could become a real issue and is a real issue, and smoking is not good for your health, they needed something scarier. And poison in your food, and poison in your water, and poison in your beer, and poison in your children's food, that incites real fear. Because I promise you, even as I scan, if I scan something and I see something that exists out there that is shown harmful to children, I am immediately drawn to it because I have children. And as a parent, you have this innate unknown from the depth of your body, whether you want it or not, desire to protect your children. It just exists. It's biological. And when you start to feel those things, you become concerned that, am I being an adequate parent? Again, where you do not know where it comes from or why you're feeling it, but these feelings of inadequacies start to creep up, and you want to make sure you're not one of those. I don't know. Maybe that's my own lack of self-esteem issues I combat. But whatever the case may be, when I see a study about children being harmed because of poison or whatever the case may be, I want to make sure I learn from it and do not repeat those mistakes. And so, it's known. These media companies employ psychologists and all kinds of teams to figure out how to write these things for the greatest impact possible. Because remember, it's through distribution and through exposure. It's through analytics that these companies are making their money. And that's when the convenience of capitalism kicks in. And as the convenience of capitalism kicks in, it's so, well, how do we take advantage of this? Yes, we get something with just enough of a buzzword there that'll really get to the core. Aaron said non-Hodgkin's lymphoma is linked per the CDC to ionizing radiation exposure. And people who work outdoor jobs such as roofers and lawn care professionals have a greater radiation exposure, of course, coming from the sun, than those who work indoors. Interesting how that works. Riley Tree and Landscaping is commenting here. It says he has to deal with having to educate customers about glyphosate all the time. They always have poor information and just want to implore extreme ignorance on the topic. Yes. I had a guy come up to me while I was at a trade show and accost me over glyphosate. And he was another presenter there. And I could not figure out how we even moved from the topic at hand, which is where we started talking, was biochar. And I got sucked into the into the equation there because he said that he had the most nutrient-dense biochar on the face of the planet. And he guaranteed me it was at least 100 times higher nutrient density than my biochar. And I was like, man, that's incredible. What's the analysis on it? And he said, well, I don't know. And I was like, boy, that's how do you not know what the analysis on it is if you're so confidently telling me that it's over 100 times more nutrient dense than what I'm using? And then somehow we transition from leading down that conversation into glyphosate. And I was being chastised for believing in glyphosate before I even gave an opinion on it. I had never said a word, and I'm being thrown under the bus and tossed this way and accused of trying to kill my own children, and all this crazy crap was coming out of this guy's mouth. And he doesn't even know where I stand on the subject. Now, and rightfully, he probably saw the horror on my face when he made those comments. And so when you start bringing other things like why the World Health Organization rejected the findings concluded by the IARC due to violation of their own internal auditing procedures for meta-analyses, he said, no. I've been in healthcare for 20 years. Everybody knows, but it's still a secret. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right. And so I had to really, really try to be as patient, as kind, and as understanding, and as receptive as I could possibly be, even though inside of me there was a fire hotter than a Falcon 9 engine. And so I kept myself calm. He left, and then he came back for a second round of chastising. And finally, and actually the second time he came back, I'm talking to somebody else, and they finally turned to the guy, and they said, listen, do you think you're going to change our minds on the topic of glyphosate? And the guy sat there kind of dumbfounded, and he said, no. And he goes, then why do you continue to engage in conversation and waste your and my time? And it ended it. Now, I'm not saying that's the right way to handle this. I don't know. But I do know that engaging in a fight, in a war of words, in an improper setting with two people who have no commonality, no history, no rapport, no respect for one another is never a positive thing. Challenging someone because you're bigger than them to a fist fight is not the right way to handle most situations. When I was 18, that was what I used to do. Oh, you don't believe me? I'll just kick your ass. Who remembers saying that? I do. All the time. You gonna call me a liar? You gonna call me a liar? I'll kick your ass. I'm 18 years old. I got a 55-gallon drum of whoop ass I'm gonna pour all over your head. This is Roy Dan Mercer. Well, I tell you what, if anybody out there has never heard of Roy D. Mercer, you need to get with it in the world. Classic. All right, real quick, I gotta take a break. When we come back, we'll see what we get into. There's only one way to settle that kind of an argument, and that's a dance-off. All right, you're listening to the one, the only radio station dedicated to an entire industry right here. TurfSupRadio.com. Your industry, your station. Oh, this is my favorite right here. Because today's Wednesday is Hump Day.
Every Wednesday night.
Uh-oh. Guess what day it is?
Hump Night with the Duck. 7 Pacific, 10 Eastern. Only on Turf's Up Radio.
Hump Day?
Do we have to put up with this?
The Rock! The hot place!
You're not the top.
Did I say something wrong?
The Duck. On Turf's Up Radio. Turf's Up Radio. Your industry, your station.
Hey everybody, this is Hecubus from the Nightcap. I'm just sitting here relaxing within the vault with my friends and a tasty pint. You should stop by and listen in sometime. I'm here every Monday through Friday, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern, live only on Turf's Up Radio. Your industry, your station.
Hey, landscape pros, are you tired of digging through rocks and roots and breaking shovels in the process? Then it's time you checked out the Geo Ripper 616. It's a landscaper's dream with the Makita 6 Series 2-cycle engine producing over 4 horsepower of raw performance. The 616 digs deep in up to 16 inches of the toughest soils. Lighting, landscape, and irrigation contractors already love this improved lightweight trencher with its ability to get in and get out faster, easier, and with less ground disturbance. And you will too. This redesigned Geo Ripper 616 comes with 2 heavy-duty digging chains and a whole mess of helpful extras. To learn more about the Geo Ripper and how it can help you out in the field, visit georipper.com today.
Are you a military family with a spouse on deployment away from home? Did you know that nonprofit Project Evergreen has thousands of volunteers across the country ready to help military families with lawn, landscape, and snow removal services? We call it Green Care and Snow Care for troops. If you are a military family and would like to receive this free service, or if you'd like to volunteer to help, visit projectevergreen.org. Project Evergreen, creating a greener, healthier, cooler Earth, 1 yard at a time.
All right, we're back. And this is Dale had a comment here. It's a good comment. Product dangers are overhyped and underhyped in terms of danger to people and the environment. The trick is that cases in which dangers are exaggerated does not mean one should throw caution to the wind. And I agree 1,000%. 1,000%. And this is why we have things specifically in the green industry referred to as product labels, and you hear it's beat into your head from day one. Day one. The label is the law. 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 Anybody that's ever been to any kind of turf seminar, turf talk, or however you want to call it, you're going to hear it at some point or another. The label is the law. The label is the law. The label is the law. Because the beautiful thing about the EPA when you're handling a pesticide is that they have put these products through a series of tests, human and animal tests, or mainly animal tests. Only some have been through human testing, but the majority of them have been through animal testing. And it will give you information, maybe not on the label, but at some point it will on the SDS or whatever the case may be, information like the LD50 of these types of products. And there's some simple terms we can all learn and understand while we're out in the field, like LD50, the lethal dose at which 50% of the test subjects died. You'll see LD50s of monkeys or turtles or rabbits or rats, whatever the case may be. It'll specify where the LD50 is. And it's important that you take these things in because it starts to put things into perspective. I feel like. Especially when you take into consideration the rates at which we're using them. And again, it does not mean we should throw caution to the wind because there's going to be things in those labels that tell us, like, when you are handling this material, you need to wear a full face shield. You need to wear a chemically resistant apron. When you're spraying diluted material, you need to be wearing rubber boots and gloves and eye protection. And it's going to vary herbicide to herbicide. Some insecticides may even recommend you wear a mask. And it'll specify in there whether you need an N95 or a full half-face respirator, fitted half-face respirator. All of these things are contained, and we should all give significant credence to what those PPE, personal protective equipment requirements are. Because they're in there for a reason. They're not in there because this material is effectively inert 100% through and through. You'll see signal words on it. Caution, warning, danger. So when I say things like glyphosate is not going to kill us, remember, that doesn't mean we should go fill up 32-ounce containers of it and just start slugging on it whenever we feel necessary. It's not the same as keeping a gallon of water in the fridge and reaching for it. That's not what anybody's saying. But what we are saying is that the potential for glyphosate to cause you issues when used in accordance with the rules set forth by the EPA and others involved in testing for the use of glyphosate in dilution, your risk as an applicator is effectively zero. And if that feels too absolute to you, then we can say is less than 1. Yeah, somebody said they were concerned with the chemical the government was using to make frogs homosexual. And this is another one of those, it's coming. If you're not prepared for this, get ready for it, because there was one previously with atrazine. Where's my buddy Symbiont? I think he actually talked about it earlier. I don't know, somewhere up here. I think he just commented a frog emoji. I think he was involved in some of those studies, and that's why he was so attached to it. But anyway, I digress. I can't find it. proper PE is the safest way to go. Does it really set you back to just practice a little bit? Just practice good PPE practices. There's a lot of practice in that, but my point being, is it really going to harm you to put on those chemical resistant gloves? Is it really going to harm you? Is it really going to throw that much of a kink in your day to have to wear those boots? And listen, there's been some great modifications made to those boots. They're comfortable now. So I hope by the end of this, through all of this, we can put all this into perspective, feel a little better about it, sleep a little easier at night, and understand that there is a right and a wrong way to do things. And as long as we stay on the right side of the way to properly do things, the amount of exposure, the amount of risk, whatever the case may be, is going to dwindle significantly. Dale said the chronic occupational exposure is also a different ballgame. Applying a product a few times a year is way different than applying it every day for your job. So what's kind of interesting is that in part of this EPA report and the 2017 National Institute of Health Agricultural Health Survey, they actually looked exactly at that. So chronic occupational exposure of lawn care applicators and agricultural applicators to see if there were any significant or consistent trends among the entire herbicide, pesticide, the entire pesticide category. And then the one they nailed down from there had to do more with what they were looking for was glyphosate. One, your exposure chronically to glyphosate and how that affected you over, I can't remember what it was. I think it was a 20-year study they did where they followed up on it. And that's a pretty large pool, and they ended up still having, by the end of it, like 20,000 participants or something. I could be wrong. I'm going off memory, and I could be wrong. But that's a pretty large data pool that you have to draw from when you're able to track that many people over 20 years. That may have been what they started with, and they ended with like 10,000 or something. I can't remember. But it's been looked at before, and it will continue to be looked at. And I think there is a certain amount of personal responsibility you have to accept when you are in this industry and you choose that which portion of the industry I'm going to move into is lawn applications. You have to accept a certain amount of occupational exposure. It is a mental acceptance you have to be willing to take on. In my opinion, it would be silly for me at this point, 15 years into my career, to all of a sudden start to think to myself, you know what? I'm going to go after every one of those damn chemical manufacturers of products I've been spraying for the last 15 years because they did not adequately inform me that I was taking on a certain amount of risk by failing to use PPE properly or whatever the case may be. Because really, at the end of the day, it's on me. I knew it getting into it, and I was not some insightful wizard at 18 years old, 19 years old, giving the old 2, 3, 4 second pour into the back of a Toro green sprayer. You know what my state of mind was then? My state of mind then was, I'll live forever, F it, I don't care. So because that was my mindset for the first, 6, 7 years of my work career, is it fair for me to go back at that point and be like, you know what? Yeah, I said F it for so long and didn't take care of myself personally. I better go get the chemical manufacturers now. Because if they would have just told me something a little bit differently then than I know now, I probably would not have entered into this career. Nope, I still would have done it, and I probably would have had still the same mindset. And so that's why I like to serve a purpose. That when people start telling me they're considering getting into Furt and Squirt, the first thing I tell them is don't until you consider all your alternatives. There's probably a couple of people in here that are listening right now that have talked to me about it, and I have told them it is not a good idea. I think about Gilly. Gilly the other day was asking me some questions about it. That's a great point. If you are being exposed all the time, you should be extra cautious. There's no doubt about it. And you hear about these horrible things. And I've got to say, I've been around the industry long enough that I have seen people come and go, and I have seen people come and die. The guy who trained me in tree and shrub. All right. The guy who trained me in tree and shrub, rest in peace. When I was at True Green, the last yard he treated, he was spraying, trees and shrubs collapsed, had lost all mobility from the waist down, and died 4 days later. The cancer had grown so big that it actually affected his spine in such a way that it actually paralyzed him. Could that have been an exposure-related cancer diagnosis? I don't know. Cancer cause? I know for lunch every day it was Jungle Juice, Starburst, and Skittles. Was what that was his thing. He's a little bitty guy, skinny, but that was his treat for himself. And it wasn't like he's out there just gobbling down, handfuls of Starburst or Skittles, But I mean, he'd eat a few from time to time. And he came up in lawn care in the 70s, where you're using lots of things like chlorothalonil, diazinon, probably for post-emergent weed control and dormant grass, you're spraying a little bit of paraquat, lots of diquat. Even when I got into this, we were spraying diquat willy-nilly. Not exactly family-friendly, long-term, health viability-friendly product selections there, I'll tell you that. I'm up against a break again. I feel like it just happens so fast when you're having fun, because that's what we do here on Turfs Up Radio. We have fun. We push the envelope, we take things a little far, and then we bring it back, and we make it all right again. You're listening to Turfs Up Radio, your industry, your station. And don't forget, tonight is Hump Night!
Wednesday night.
Uh-oh, guess what day it is?
Hump Night with the Duck. 7 Pacific, 10 Eastern. Only on Turfs Up Radio.
Hump Day?
Do we have to put up with this?
The Rock! The hard place!
You're not the top.
Did I say something wrong?
The Duck. On Turfs Up Radio. Turfs Up Radio. Your industry, your station.
Hey everybody, this is Hecubus from the Nightcap. I'm just sitting here relaxing within the vault with my friends and a tasty, tasty pint. You should stop by and listen in sometime. I'm here every Monday through Friday, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern, live only on Turfs Up Radio. Your industry, your station.
Hey, landscape pros. Are you tired of digging through rocks and roots and breaking shovels in the process? Then it's time you checked out the Geo Ripper 616. It's a landscaper's dream with the Makita 6 Series 2-cycle engine producing over 4 horsepower of raw performance. The 616 digs deep in up to 16 inches of the toughest soils. Lighting, landscape, and irrigation contractors already love this improved lightweight trencher with its ability to get in and get out faster, easier, and with less ground disturbance, and you will too. This redesigned Geo Ripper 616 comes with 2 heavy-duty digging chains and a whole mess of helpful extras. To learn more about the Geo Ripper and how it can help you out in the field, visit georipper.com today.
Playing the best music.
Hands down and dirty. Turfs Up Radio.
Turfs Up Radio.
Turfs Up Radio. Turfs Up Radio. Turfs Up Radio. Turfs Up.
Turfs Up Radio. Your industry, your station.
Sounds like a little. This sounds like a little Ryan Knorr there, doesn't it? So I want to go ahead and tease coming up on Friday. Friday, I've got a special guest. I got old Russell Skipper coming on. Russell's a dear friend of mine, and down in Hotlanta, and he's going to be coming on and talk about what it's like to scale a lawn care company in a saturated market. Being in Atlanta, you talk about a hotbed for lawn care. My goodness, that place is swarming with lawn care companies. And I thought, man, what a great person to have on to talk about it, because I've known Russell down long enough to watch him go from being a single operator to having multiple trucks out there. And he kind of took an interesting approach where he was doing mainly commercial work and then expanded from commercial into residential. Kind of a neat story, and I thought it would be good for people to hear, because lawn care in general has what I like to call the plateau. And you can kind of insert it, and it's not a customer count. Maybe it is a customer count, but it seems more so of a revenue count. And that is somewhere around that $200,000 to $300,000 a year. It's at that point, that dollar amount, somewhere around there, you hit the plateau, and it's just about as much as a single operator can go out and get done by themselves. Or you bring on one person and you seem to just get stuck there. And if that's you, there's no problem. There's no problem with you, but I thought it would be important to have somebody on who is crossing over the threshold of being out of that. You know, somebody who's well in excess now of $200,000, $300,000 in revenue, and can talk about it and share the things he did, the strategic pieces of his puzzle to put him into the situation he's now in. And then I'm sure also along the way, there's going to be the story of bigger, badder, faster, stronger. It isn't always what it's cut out to be. Of course, the bigger you get, mo money, mo problems. Dun, 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 I'm coming home. So I think that would be a good one. That'd be a great one for him to come on and just tell it to us. The positives, the negatives, the fun, the not so fun. The late nights packaging up all your EDDM mailers to try and save a couple cents per mail piece. Boy, I do not missing that. Stacks of 100. Stacks of 100 and bundle. 100 and bundle. 100 and bundle. And then where you get real squirrely, where you get super squirrely, is when you drop it off and they look at you like you're crazy, like, oh, I've got to put these out. And even crazier is when the ones you do drop in the mail never get delivered. I think we could have a whole show on every door direct mail. Because that happens, whether you want to believe it or not. I can promise you, I can cite you example after example after example of lawn care company that decided to go the route of EDDM, and they spend a fortune to them on it. It doesn't matter if you spend $4,000 or $14,000, whatever the case may be, that's still a chunk of change. Those are marketing dollars you put away that you spent and you invest in this taking place. And what happens? I'll tell you exactly what happens. Somebody throws it away, literally setting fire to your supply of cash. But it happens. I don't know if Russell specifically has been on the receiving end of that, but I know he also knows the same stories I'm talking about as well, too. Will T-Nex help keep me right? So anyway, that's what I got to say about glyphosate. If you missed it, go back, listen from the beginning, because we kind of go through, we dissect this latest study about, oh no, we've got glyphosate in chicken doo-doo when we're feeding chickens glyphosate. Significant amounts of glyphosate for a year. And then we're applying it at 34,000 pounds an acre. Dane says, when someone starts speaking about how bad any chemical is, I ask them if they know the deadly nature of dihydrogen monoxide. For those of you playing along at home, dihydrogen monoxide is H2O. And you take into account how many people just alone from drowning. $320,000 people a year die at the hands of dihydrogen monoxide. 320,000 a year. That is a significant number of people. As he said, normally don't get the joke, and it tells me their level of knowledge. And I agree. I agree. If you bust out the old dihydrogen monoxide thing and you really wipe somebody out on that, whew. Steve Willie says, as far as I know, it's good for you and pets. Hey, Steve, I appreciate you keeping me in the loop, sir. I feel a lot better now that everything's returned to normal. All is right in the world. Again.
Daddy?
Yes? I can't do it right now. I know you want to. I'm doing the radio show right now. Okay? Okay. My daughter wants to watch A for Adley. I can't do it right now. You're going to have to wait a minute and then I can do it, okay? There we go. Dad, can I watch A for Adley? Dad, can I watch Minecraft? Dad, can I watch Oh My Gosh? My kids are ruined. I'm kidding. Those are very family-friendly types of videos. Dad, can I watch Chad Wild Clay? It's all good stuff. It's good stuff. You know, for as much a mess that comes out of YouTube, there's also some positive things too. So Russell Skipper's coming on Friday. That's gonna be a good one. I'm gonna buzz him in, and I'm sure we'll raise a stink, cause some sort of problem, and hopefully avoid any psychological trauma to anybody for the things we're going to be talking about. And really, what I want to shine light on is, I know how many people we're moving into fall, we're moving into the end of the growing season, and this is where all the mowing guys start to think to themselves, I think this is going to be the year I get into Furt and Squirt. I hear so much about it, I'm too excited. And so I want to take just a moment to let you in on the realities of it. Because it's not all fun and games. Yes, profit margins may be better, but the management of expectations, the management of communication, the management of humiliation is increased significantly. Steve Willey's a good one I can have on because he's been treating lawns since the 70s. I should have Steve Willey on because he was treating lawns back before Noah's flood took place. In fact, that was where he got the idea to use the tanker trucks that he used to use when he was out spraying yards. It looks good on paper. It sounds good when you're talking about it. It's another thing when you put it into execution. This industry can be very rewarding. It can be rewarding in the sense that you get to see the fruits of your labor relatively quickly. Input-output times are right there. But at the same time, there is a lot of hardship involved, and it's different. I'm not saying it's any worse, any harder, any more difficult than mowing. It's just a different approach. I'm not even saying the communication volume is even increased in mowing. It's just a different type of communication at play. So I want to explore all that. Especially in the face of COVID, this is normally where we see explosions of new people in the green industry. And sometimes you just got to jar them, shock them a little bit to bring them back to reality. To get your head right. To take a moment and think and consider the positives and negatives. The risk to reward, remember, you screw up when you're spraying a lawn, that could easily be a $5,000 mistake. Seldom do you run into $5,000 mistakes when you're mowing a yard, but you also do too. You may crash a mower into a car. You may hit a pile of rocks buried under something and it shatters every piece of glass on the back of the back of the house. So it's just different because if you mix your tank wrong, you go spray an entire neighborhood and you wipe out an entire neighborhood. Boy, that gets real hairy real fast. You gotta get your insurance right. What up, Pete Denning? Get your insurance right. All right, real quick, I gotta take a break. When we come back, we got one more segment. One more segment before we get ready for Hump Night.
Hey everybody, this is Hecubus from the Nightcap. I'm just sitting here relaxing within the vault with my friends and a tasty, tasty pint. You should stop by and listen in sometime. I'm here every Monday through Friday, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern, live only on Turf's Up Radio. Your industry, your station.
Every Wednesday night.
Uh-oh, guess what day it is?
Hump Night with The Duck, 7 Pacific, 10 Eastern. Only on Turf's Up Radio.
Hump day.
Do we have to put up with this?
The Rock! The hot place!
You're not the top.
Did I say something wrong?
The Duck. On Turf's Up Radio. Turf's Up Radio. Your industry, your station.
Hey, landscape pros, are you tired of digging through rocks and roots and breaking shovels in the process? Then it's time you checked out the Geo Ripper 616. It's a landscaper's dream with the Makita 6 Series 2-cycle engine producing over 4 horsepower of raw performance. The 616 digs deep in up to 16 inches of the toughest soils. Lighting, landscape, and irrigation contractors already love this improved lightweight trencher with its ability to get in and get out faster, easier, and with less ground disturbance. And you will too. This redesigned Geo Ripper 616 comes with 2 heavy-duty digging chains and a whole mess of helpful extras. To learn more about the Geo Ripper and how it can help you out in the field, visit georipper.com today.
Are you a military family with a spouse on deployment away from home? Did you know that nonprofit Project Evergreen has thousands of volunteers across the country ready to help military families with lawn, landscape, and snow removal services? We call it Green Care and Snow Care for troops. If you are a military family and would like to receive this free service, or if you'd like to volunteer to help, visit projectevergreen.org. Project Evergreen, creating a greener, healthier, cooler Earth, 1 yard at a time.
Uh-oh! So anyway, to put all this in summary, I bring this up and I repeat it over and over and over that it's our responsibility to take on what we understand about glyphosate as hard and as complete as we possibly can. Remember, with anything that in moderation, then everything is okay in moderation, right? Whether, or you hear the old phrase. I had an old environmental consultant and scientist tell me one time, the solution to delusion is pollution, because you're taking things out of concentration. You're putting it back into moderation, right? And not literally go pollute and then dilute it with a bunch of water. That's not the point there. I digress. The point is that we're going to continue to see these health scares, these health crises that we come across related to glyphosate because they are so attention-getting, especially with the news of how the case went originally with Monsanto. And now is being passed on with Bayer taking another big loss as well. So we have to be prepared as we suit up every day, boot up, armor up, whatever the case may be, when we go out into the field to handle these types of scenarios. The more educated we are at each one of these topics, the bigger it will pay off for us in the long run. Remember, point number 1 and most important point is to always be professional. Always be professional. Do not engage in fighting. Do not take your shirt off and ask to wrestle in the backyard. That will get you nowhere and only eliminates and does significant harm to your reputation, to your business, and also to your ability to be listened to. Your opinion at that point, no matter how well read and researched you are, is no longer moot. So be ready. Take the time to study. When you see these articles, dig deeper. Look into who wrote them. Look at their sources for where they came up for this information. Remember, anonymous is only a source in the major newses. When it comes to glyphosate poisoning or killing one of us, that does not require, should we expect, to believe an anonymous source. There must be a study to go along with this. And these studies are published and ready for us to be able to review. Remember, glyphosate is the most used, widely used, and well-studied herbicide on the market. The only true risk we have if using glyphosate in accordance to the label is herbicide resistance. So remember, as we continue these dialogues about the safety of this and the safety of that, in my opinion, one of the important pieces for us to take into consideration from a safety aspect is also resistance, which in my opinion is really the bigger issue than debating and spinning information and scaring the crap out of everybody with garbage headlines regarding the safety of glyphosate. So take the time. Do your own due diligence. Share with those around you who are open to listening, critically thinking the due diligence you perform. Take the time to read, interpret, understand, ask questions about these studies as they come out. And as you look through these studies, look for those ridiculous elements that make all of this seem a little bit ridiculous. Remember, the passing of glyphosate through manure could be a real thing. But remember, when you are applying this material at 34,000 pounds an acre, and you're applying this material at 11 pounds of actual nitrogen per 1,000 square feet, it's hard at that point to say really where the issue lied. Remember that when we're feeding birds directly as part of their feed, mixing it on up, gobble it all down, it's not exactly the same as environmental exposure. I hope this gets repeated many times over and is done so at more cautious rates as to what is typically seen while out in the field. So in summary, no, your chicken litter is not going to kill you. No, your glyphosate is not going to kill you. Breathe easy tonight. Say your prayers that the EPA, Lord above, will not get you in your sleep. All right, everybody, I had a good time today. Share the word, share the message. Go to all your friends and family. Tell them, hey, listen to this guy on Turfs Up Radio. And if you're out there in the field and you're grinding and you're sweating, you get accosted by these people, feel free. Tell them to tune in. I'm always willing to have an open, honest conversation with anybody who's willing to actually converse. We live in a weird time, in a weird world, but at the end of the day, we're all human. We should appeal to the human in us, not scare the hell out of it. Y'all have a good one. We'll see you tomorrow. All right, YouTube. Thank y'all for tuning in. We'll see y'all